This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
I'm Bob Joseph. This is Binghamton Now, Thursday, August 1st, 2024. We are on the air, taking calls at 607-772-1290. Go ahead, give us a call on Binghamton Now. WNBF! And top of the morning to you. It's a great day for America and for the world as we start a brand new month. And exciting news with the report that Wall Street Journal employee Evan Gershkovich is being released. So that's the best news I've heard in quite a while. Interestingly, we were talking about him on the program yesterday morning. Caller brought it up and noted that we haven't said much about Evan in recent weeks. But as I responded to our listener, that I expected that the Wall Street Journal reporter would be freed by Election Day, which, as you may know, is still 3 months away. And then here we are this morning. We learned the news about the release. I don't know all the details of how this happened. Clearly, negotiations have been underway for a long time to get to this point. Nothing like this happens quickly. And certainly, I'm sure the lack of progress was infuriating for Evan's family and infuriating for his colleagues at the Wall Street Journal. It's been unfortunate and terrible for, I think, people in the journalism profession. Anytime that a reporter is being detained illegally, it's a problem. But at least it appears that this has finally been resolved. We'll see what the details are. As I pointed out in the conversation on yesterday's program, once the specifics become known about whatever deal was struck to have this release take place, once the details become known, there are probably going to be a lot of people unhappy. Let's put it this way. If it doesn't happen, I'll be shocked. If I don't hear scathing criticism of President Biden and his administration for what they have agreed to get to this point this morning, I'll be astonished. I'm sure the nattering nabobs of pessimism are already excitedly moving forward. Of course they are. Of course they are. We'd expect nothing less. So it'll be a time of celebration with the Russian agreement to free Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan. That's to be expected. Then after a brief period of celebration, then the criticism, recriminations, and just general, you know what to expect. It would happen even if the election wasn't 96 days away, of course. So here's the latest story. This is reported by The Guardian WNBF.com. Major prisoner exchange between Russia and the West is underway involving the Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich, who has been freed from a Russian prison. It's according to the initial reporting from Bloomberg, citing people familiar with the situation. Sources with knowledge of the planned exchange confirmed to The Guardian that a major swap would take place today in a location outside Russia. They did not make any additional details known until the swap had taken place owing to sensitivity of the matter. It's one of the things I mentioned during our conversation with the listener yesterday. Anytime an American is being held illegally, whether it's in Russia or some other country, there is a need to be careful with what is said in public, because say if, as I think, I'd have to play back the tape, but I think I made some reference, what if negotiations were right at the point? Say they had been working for months to get to the stage where Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan, a former U.S. Marine, are about to be released. They finalize their release in exchange for Russian prisoners, and then somebody somewhere brings up something that makes the other party unhappy or angry or whatever. Remember the Iranian hostages who were held illegally in Tehran for 444 days. And remember how the Iranian government played games with that throughout, and how even up until a couple of hours before the 52 Americans were freed on January 20th, 1981, we didn't know for sure that they'd be released. You don't know until they're finally out of the country that's held them. You can't assume, because at any point along the line, somebody, could be the government, it could be somebody else, could do something to block a release. And that's why dealing with these situations requires an ongoing bit of sensitivity. At any rate, this does seem to be good news. I'll feel better when I see a video and hear some audio of Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan and see that they're okay. I don't know how well they'll be after everything they've been through. And I'm not expecting either man to start holding news conferences and granting interviews anytime soon. It's a process that's involved when people who've been held for months or years eventually are freed. You can't just say, all right, free at last. Go back to your normal life. It's not that way. The lives of Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan will never be the same. They can't be the same. They've been forever changed. And you just have to hope that they get the assistance they'll be needing as they gradually get to enjoy freedom again. It's 9:21 WNBF. Keep you posted. We have latest developments about what seems to be some good news. Always cautious. First time, I think I saw the first report about this maybe around 7:45 this morning. And when you see a story that comes from a single source, in this case Bloomberg, especially when it appears to be the type of news you've been waiting for, you look at it with a certain amount of skepticism until it can be confirmed by official sources. So we'll see what happens. It's 9:22. I'm Bob Joseph on Binghamton Now. Our number is 607-772-1290. Would you like to talk? Well, if you do, call me. I'd like to talk with you. I'm here till noon on Binghamton Now. It's Thursday morning. Well, we somehow made it through the month of July, 31 days that contained a lot more news than one might have expected. What a month. What a month. When the history books are written, they're going to need to devote more pages than usual for the account of what happened during July 2024. And some might say it was a year's worth of news in 1 month. Maybe it was more than a year's worth of news. And makes you wonder what's next. I always, as a journalist, I always wonder what's next. I start every day thinking to myself, well, I have a couple of things planned. I have a couple of stories that I would like to do today, if conditions permit. And then you leave the house and you just wait. You wait to see what transpires. And sometimes it's good news, sometimes it's bad news, sometimes it's something in the middle, but frequently what happens, whether it's for local events or events outside the Binghamton region, it's hard to predict. I woke up this morning. When I woke up, I didn't think that I'd be hearing less than 2 hours later that Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan were going to be released. So it was nice to hear something positive. And again, having said that, because it's positive and because the Biden administration was involved, within probably minutes or hours, there'll be people coming up with the talking points of why this was bad. So just brace yourself. I know you're saying, but Bob, maybe they won't do it. True, maybe they won't. Stay tuned. WNBF will be the place where you can hear. If they do develop fast talking points, this is a difficult story for the people, the purveyors of talking points, because they usually finalize their talking points by midnight of the day before. Then they send them out to the opinionators on radio, TV, and the web. And now they suddenly have to come up with a new batch of talking points to explain why the deal that was struck for the release of Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan were bad. And of course, the focus can't only be on Joe Biden. They'll also have to focus on Kamala Harris. It'll be fascinating to see what talking points emerge over the next 3 hours. 9:28 WNBF. A heat advisory will be in effect for the Binghamton area from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. The heat index could hit 99.1. All right. Just 99. The 0.1 I added. So the hot temperatures and high humidity may cause heat-related illnesses. Forecast from the National Weather Service: sunny today, high 91, but the heat index could reach 99 in some places. Partly cloudy tonight, low 67. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, high 91. And right now it's 73 in downtown Binghamton, 23 Celsius at WNBF. It's 9:29. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Airport Road Bob. How are you?
Great.
Listen, I got a little bit of a dilemma after listening to your show over the years. You've educated me to the point where I know I have to get my facts straight before I call Bob and spout anything on the air. I have a little dilemma. The open house for the corporate park is next week at the Johnson City High School. And I was called by the Johnson City Police Department and told that the public cannot pass out flyers at that event. So I need a little help from Matt in Binghamton or John in Binghamton with some advice. So hoping they might call in, but still have some plans going. I'll let you know later in the week. But
well, let me follow up on that. So, okay, there'll be this event next week, and then what happened? How did you find out that people who might be opposed to this project can't hand out flyers? How did you hear about that?
Well, I'm pretty much the biggest PETA guy in this whole project, so we try to eliminate having any issues. So I talked to Mayor Meany the other day, and he passed me off to the police department. But it seems as though, although it's a public meeting, schools and churches have special rules that don't allow people like myself to just stand there and pass out flyers about the information that we have. We can do it down on the street. We can do it down on Reynolds Road, but we had planned on having, 2 at the most 3 people there all day, just passing out flyers and having a petition to sign if they were willing to sign a petition against this. But we've been told we can't do it on school property. So,
who actually told you that? Who is the person who made that assertion?
I'm going to get his name wrong. It's the deputy chief in Johnson City, Harding, maybe Harding or something like that. He called me yesterday.
Well, because he didn't call you out of the blue and say, I know you, Airport Road Bob, and your problem. You and your fellow.
He didn't call me yesterday.
So you called.
I called the other day.
Oh, so you made an inquiry. Well,
yes, because I didn't want to create a problem. I didn't want to have a bunch of people showing up with signs and creating a traffic issue. Just trying to do something smart, easy, non-confrontational. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm looking, and I haven't looked up on the Johnson City School District website. First of all, where is this open house?
At the Johnson City High School on Reynolds Road.
At 666 Reynolds Road, that one?
Yes.
Okay. I'm familiar with that building. Okay, so I didn't look in my quick search live on the program and look up the Johnson City School District website, but they must have a section like this. The first thing that popped up when I did a search is for Ithaca City School District. Flyer distribution guidelines. The Ithaca City School District recognizes the importance of working alongside its community in support of nonprofit events and opportunities that are tailored to engage our students and their families, blah, blah. Let's see. Guidelines for distributing. Oh, this is more for distributing flyers in school. I don't know. I had not been aware that there's any sort of prohibition at a public meeting, even on school property, or for that matter, even in a church, because sometimes church facilities are used for public meetings because they have halls that can accommodate a lot of people. I didn't realize that flyers weren't permitted. So, well, I would say noted attorney Matthew Ryan has had plenty of experience with protest. With protest in Johnson City. So he, I wonder if anything goes sideways. Say if you do something they don't like, if they can ban you from Johnson City school property for 3 years.
Well, listen, I called hoping that Matt's listening or John's listening. Because,
Yeah, well, one of them my guess is both are listening. The question is, are they cowering in fear because they don't want to court any controversy with the authorities in Johnson City? They may be reluctant to address this because they don't want to cause any problems with village officials or the school district. So they might contact me privately, would say something to the effect on an email, Bob, we're afraid. We don't want to have another problem with anybody in Johnson City, so we're going to sit this one out.
Well, I have the flyers. I'll try and email them to you.
Email a flyer to me. I mean, I'm the biggest supporter of the First Amendment in New York State. You know that. The freedom of speech, baby.
Well, listen, get some people motivated. Like I said, this is next Tuesday, and I'll keep you up to date.
All right. Well, maybe you could get special permission from, a written permission slip from the Johnson City School Superintendent and Stacy Duncan from the agency to allow you to hand out flyers at the meeting.
I'm pretty sure Stacy's not going to sign me up for anything.
But why? Here's my question. Now, I know instinctively one might say, well, Stacy Duncan, who of course I assume she's going to be doing much, if not all of the presentation. One might think, because I think when she's been on the program talking about the project, you would think in the interest of transparency and having a full community dialogue that she would actually welcome it. Obviously, you and she disagree about this specific project, but if it's in the best interest of Broome County in the long run, and ultimately local officials may decide it is, despite the opposition you and some of your neighbors have expressed, but you would think that they would want to strive to do everything to make it appear that they've let all voices be heard, even those who are opposed. Because in the end, this is my theory, and certainly some people in the audience can call if they disagree. My theory is, if you hand out flyers expressing concerns and opposition to the proposed project, my thought is that that's not, in the end, that alone is not going to kill the project. If anything, maybe it could, and again, this is a hypothetical, maybe it could energize those who support the project and to redouble their efforts. Who knows? I don't think just because people are having a discussion about the pros and cons of a major project, I don't see where anyone should try to dissuade the conversation. Why would you want to suppress the conversation and the dialogue?
My premonition, Bob, she's gonna be on your show before Tuesday, so you ask her that question. How's that?
Yeah, if she comes on the show. And by the way,
she will.
I want her on the show. And let's face it, she would fully expect, even if you hadn't mentioned this, I might have brought up something about, so how will you deal with the inevitable people who are opposed to the project? So it might be a more generic question. She knows what to expect. She's been on the program frequently, so she'll be prepared to respond, and we would find out what her thoughts are and what her position is. I personally, this is me speaking both as a journalist and a concerned member of this great community. I don't see where flyers could possibly jeopardize the project. I think this project is so big that individual opponents or even a group, an organized group, won't alone defeat the project. The project will either go forward or be abandoned based on its merits.
Well, great show, Bob. As always, I love your program, and people should really appreciate it for what it is.
Exactly. Thank you. It's 9:39 at WNBF. I don't think a flyer ever hurt anyone. I know I wouldn't hurt a flyer. But if they're going to invoke the, if it is in some law, and I don't recall hearing about this, if there's something in a state law or a local regulation that precludes people from handing out flyers at public meetings on school property or church property, I think that should be changed if that's the case, because we live in the USA today. We don't live in Russia. We don't live in Cuba. We don't live in Venezuela. This is America. Freedom of speech. 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming at WNBF.com. You're listening to Binghamton Now. Back to the phones we go on this Thursday morning. Tom in Binghamton, you're on the air.
Good morning, Bob. You know, I pay a lot of taxes to the Johnson City School District, and I really take umbrage at the fact that there's a public meeting at a public facility, and somebody's trying to say that this group, it's a recognized group, can't pass out flyers to give information to the people who are interested in going and to find out what the one side is saying. I really am very upset about that. And I don't know who's come up with this decision that flyers can't be passed out to give people who want to learn more about the proposal, that they can't pass these flyers out. I really am upset about that, especially, like I say, I pay a lot of taxes to the Johnson City School District, which supports that facility. I'm really upset about that. So,
well, maybe there's a misunderstanding. Maybe there is actually no policy in effect at the school district that would prevent anyone from handing out flyers at the meeting next week. So maybe we need to get more information from the school district or the police department or somebody who knows about these things. I think it's interesting. It's probably good that it's being discussed now as opposed to waiting till next week. So in case there's any sort of misinformation or misunderstanding, it can be cleared up ahead of time.
I agree with you about that, but I'm really upset about that. The idea of excluding information being passed out.
Well, control your emotions till we confirm it. We have to find out for sure that whether it's Stacy Duncan from the agency or somebody from the school district or the Johnson City police chief, all of them have access to email, and so they certainly can send me an email between now and noon to confirm if this is true, that no flyer distribution will be permitted next week, or they could send an email and say, oh, Bob, as long as people hand out flyers that aren't urging illegal action, of course it's okay. I need to find out.
Well, thanks for being on top of it, and I appreciate the guy who called in earlier. Was it Bob?
Yeah, Airport Road Bob from the town of Maine. Yeah. So it makes sense, as he said, he doesn't want to cause problems. So I guess it's probably wise ahead of time to check to see if it would be okay. I'm not sure. If I was part of the opposition, I don't think, if I was going to the meeting, I don't think I would have called anybody ahead of the meeting. I would have printed up my flyers and then gone to the meeting and handed, and not forced flyers on people. I mean, if somebody doesn't want your flyer, you can't say, here, take this, but, be there to offer your viewpoint if people have any interest. I don't think I would have called, so I guess I give them credit for planning ahead.
I'm glad Airport Road Bob called in. I think that's great, and thanks for keeping us abreast of it. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Tom. It's 9:47 at News Radio WNBF. Let me check the email, see if we've received any official communication about this. You never know. They may have already. No, nobody's. All right. So if you are in a position to know whether you're with the agency or the Johnson City School District or the police department or the district attorney or Kathy Hochul, anybody who knows whether it's okay to distribute flyers during a public meeting on school property. There might be signs. I don't recall. It's been several months since I've been to Johnson City High School, so I don't recall if they have signs either at the entrance to the high school property or on the building that say flyer distribution prohibited. They might. They might. And I suppose if that's their policy, I guess that if that's their policy, maybe somebody should look into it. It's 9:49 WNBF. Well, here we go. This is predictable, but I mean, I guess I would be disappointed if I didn't get this email regarding the release of Evan Gershkovich, who we talked about on yesterday's program. This is from Mark from yesterday. Bob, day late and dollar short. Way to turn it political in 5 minutes. Hey, I didn't turn it political. I just mentioned what I think will happen. So, Mark, if it turns out I'm wrong and you don't start hearing within 24 or 48 hours a lot of criticism of the deal that resulted in the release of the Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich and the former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan, if it turns out that the Biden administration and even Kamala Harris aren't being criticized for the deal they made with Russia, give me a call. Give me a call Monday if that doesn't happen. I'm not making it political. I'm saying, based on many, many years of experience, we can expect it to be turned political. But sometimes my expectations are wrong. If the former guy doesn't make this political, I'll be stunned. I haven't looked on Twitter lately. Seems to me, on Twitter, the former guy probably is already weighing in, but I haven't seen it yet. I know he doesn't use Twitter, but somebody takes his postings from his social media platform, then puts them on Twitter. And I just personally, let me just see, seems like he must have some sort of... Now, on the other hand, I'll be the first to admit, if it turns out that Donald Trump shows an understanding of the deal that was worked out and actually says he supports it and is thankful that Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan have been freed, and actually congratulates Joe Biden for working out this deal with Russia to clear the way for the release of these men. If Mr. Trump does that, I'll be the first one to admit on live radio I was wrong. I'll look forward to that. I will look forward to saying I was wrong if that happens. If I don't see any criticism of this deal from Donald Trump or from the people, the opinionators, the people like Dan Bongino and Sean Hannity and Mark Levin and the Red Eye guys and the people on the Fox and all the other opinionators, if they don't criticize it, I'll be the first to say I was totally wrong. 9:52, let's take another call here at News Radio, WNBF. Good morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Jim from Endwell.
Yeah, what's up?
I didn't catch all of that last conversation, but I was thinking, if you're handing out pamphlets or whatever, wouldn't that be considered loitering? And I'm sure the schools have signs, no loitering.
They're going to have a public meeting at the high school next week, so the public is invited to the public meeting. So Airport Road Bob, along with dozens of other people, will be going to the public meeting. So if he's, I assume, they'll have it in an auditorium or some other appropriate place at the high school. So if he is in the auditorium where the meeting is being held, he's part of the public. And if he stands there with a stack of flyers and gives them to people who want to read what he has to say, I don't see why they would say he's loitering.
Okay. All right. I didn't, like you said, I didn't catch the whole thing.
Yeah. Now, if he goes out there, today at the high school, even though school's not in session, and he hangs out on school property and I'm not sure why he would, but say, if it's not in conjunction with a public event, then that could pose a problem. But personally, I don't see. I'd like to know if this is the case where handing out flyers at next week's meeting would not be allowed. I'd like to know from the police chief and from the school superintendent and from Stacy Duncan of the agency. I'd like to know why they wouldn't let someone hand out flyers.
Well, I think I have to agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, as I said with Airport Road Bob, I don't see where handing out flyers one way or the other. I mean, people who support the project. I mean, Stacy Duncan or other people who support the project could also hand out flyers. So, you could have two people standing next to each other, Airport Road Bob and somebody else from the agency or from Broome County, handing out their own flyers.
All right, I agree.
Yeah.
And just one other thing.
Sure.
For anybody who's interested, Hooper Road Bridge is now open.
Oh, thank you. Our long national nightmare is over. It was closed longer than I expected.
It's not exactly 100%, but it is got two-way traffic.
Thank you.
You betcha.
All right. Looking forward to that. I'll be driving over it. Yeah, I will at some point, but probably not today. Good morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Carol in Johnson City.
Right.
The other night I was watching a show on Netflix about Satanic Club, and I was just curious if a couple of years ago they started one at the Endicott School, and I thought, geez, I wonder if that Bob would know about that.
I haven't heard anything about it in a long time. I don't know if they shut it down. I mean, the school district obviously legally could not shut it down, but I'm wondering if it just sort of faded away because of a lack of interest.
Yeah, I was going to Google it, but then I thought, well, I'll give Bob a call.
All right. Well, I'll try to look into it. My impression is if the after-school Satan Club was still holding meetings in Broome County, my impression is somebody who listens to this program would have called in because there, as you recall, there was quite a bit of opposition to the whole idea when this came up a couple of years ago.
Yeah, there's a show on Netflix about it, and I thought, wonder if it's still going on in Endicott.
Yeah. Did they make any reference? Well, it was actually Main Endwell School District at Homer Brink Elementary School. Did they make any reference to Endwell?
No, it was mainly Texas, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at some point, me, I don't want to stir up trouble, but at some point, maybe I'll call the woman who we spoke with a couple of years ago about the after-school Satan Club to find out what happened. Maybe it didn't go over well in Maine Endwell, but maybe she'll set one up in Union Endicott or Johnson City or Binghamton or Windsor. Maybe it would be better received in another school district.
I don't know about that. Okay.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I don't know about it either, but thank you for your call. No, I'm not predicting it would, but if at first you don't succeed, then try again. In case you haven't heard, there is some good news for those who were concerned about two Americans being held in Russia, the former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan and the Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich are being released today, according to media reports. It was first reported by Bloomberg, and now some other news agencies are also reporting that. So that constitutes good news. Now, if I'm wrong, And this prisoner swap, the Russia prisoner swap that cleared the way for the release of these two Americans, if this doesn't generate a lot of blowback from talk show hosts and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, I'll admit I was wrong. Bob Joseph, Binghamton Now on your Thursday morning at News Radio, WNBF, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming at WNBF.com. And it is August 1st, first Thursday of the month, and joining us now, as is usually the case on the first Thursday of the month, is Broome County Executive Jason Garner. Good morning.
Good morning, Bob, and good morning, Broome County.
So it's the big headline in Broome County this morning.
The weather's great so far.
Yes, but a heat advisory just took effect 11 minutes ago. Are there any cooling stations that'll be open today and tomorrow?
Yeah, I think just like the regular standard places that we have, the library, other places. I mean, those places are typically open for people to, most of our public buildings are open for people to come in, but especially the library and all of our senior centers across the county as well. Definitely drink a lot of water.
Stay hydrated.
Yeah. But I guess Speedy Fest coming up this weekend. I'd rather it be a little bit on the hotter but drier side. I think we're going to get maybe a little bit of rain, but it's actually looking a lot better for weather than it was yesterday. So that's good.
Yeah, it's the way this summer has been going. We've had a lot of stormy conditions. Let's see. So tomorrow night, things get started tomorrow night. And
Friday
to me,
night, yep.
Yeah, I can't believe the week is almost over. So tomorrow night, partly cloudy. At the moment, no mention of rain. And although tomorrow is going to be hot during the day, I saw 3 nights ago, I think it was Monday night, there were 3 balloons that were just flying. I don't know if they were flying in preparation for this weekend's event or whatever, but it was nice I was hanging out with the K9 and on the deck, and I heard the telltale sounds of whooshing, which could only mean a hot air balloon. It turns out there were 3, so it was nice to see them.
Yeah. I don't know if they were in preparation for the Speedy Fest either, but obviously there'll be a ton of those throughout the weekend.
So what should people know about the Speedy Fest? I know there has been a lot of information pushed out over the last several days, and this is not going to be the Speedy Fest hour, but just some of the main. Although I could spend at a minimum 2 hours talking about Speedies, but generally speaking, any specific things that area residents should know when they go to the Speedy Fest over the next 3 days?
So there's really good music acts that I think are going to draw more people than we typically see here. And I would say that, whether it's Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, I would say make sure that you get there with plenty of time, right? Now, some people will use the shuttle service that we have. Some people will, find ways to park and, walk for however long they want to walk. But I would make sure that you have a lot of time. This is kind of an issue we ran into with the air show the first day with parking, in that, I think some people, like if the air show started at 9 o'clock or the plane started flying at 12 o'clock, they got to the parking area at like 12 o'clock. And if the concert's supposed to go on at 7, I'm just saying, I don't know when the concerts go on, but if the concert's supposed to go on at 7, I would not try to get there at 7. I would get there way, way early, because I think there's going to be a lot of people there, and I think that's what we're expecting. We're expecting more people there than we've seen, and with typical than we usually see typical in other years.
Sometimes I think people around here have this sense, because we're a smaller community, and for many events, it's basically, okay, it's going to start whatever, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. So you plan out your schedule, because my goal in life is to be punctual, not too early, but never too late, or never late. And so sometimes it's like, okay, I know it's going to take me 23 and a half minutes to get from home to where I need to park, and then it's going to take me 3 or 4 minutes to walk. And so, I mean, a lot of times I'll show up a minute before something's supposed to begin. And to your point, if that's what you intend to do with a concert, with the Speedy Fest, it's probably not the right approach.
If you're going to do it the way you just described, you may miss it. So I give you an example. They've got this really big talent, Shabuzi, who I guess he has like a number one hit right now, and he's playing Friday night, and I think there's going to be a ton of people there. And I don't know if you remember when they did the Light Festival show for the first time, and I mean, traffic was backed up going into Otsego Park. I mean, it was as far back as like a mile in either direction, whether it was going, on Front Street, to the health department, backed up all the way on Front Street, or backed up and all the way past Shenango Street. I think that I can't predict anything, but I think that the fact that the guy's got a number one hit, it's going to be a huge draw Friday night, and the entertainment is really good Saturday and Sunday as well. So I just worry that you're just going to see a lot of traffic there. So like if you're used to going to, like you said, if you're used to going to Otsego Park and it takes you 23 and a half minutes to get to Otsego Park and go there, it's going to take a lot longer to be able to get in there. So I would just say make sure you have plenty of time to get in there, and if you get there an hour early, it gives you a good chance to you can eat something. You get some Speedies or
lamb Speedies,
something like that.
Lamb Speedies. Buy yourself 2 lamb Speedies. You'll be glad you did.
You can get lamb Speedies there. But I guess just a couple other things. I think the kids are going to like the fact that they brought back the rides this year. So I think that's great. But, the organizers really tried to put together a real special event for the 40th anniversary. So but I think the big takeaway is get there early if you're going to see the concerts.
It's 10:18. We're talking with Broome County Executive Jason Garner. Are you going on a balloon ride?
I'm not. I'm not a big fan of heights.
Have you ever been on a hot air balloon ride?
No. Mm-mm.
I brought this up with a listener earlier this week who also has a fear of heights, as do I. But here's the thing. Even though I have a deathly fear of heights, I went on a hot air balloon ride a few years ago, and I had no fear. It's the strangest thing. I get afraid when I'm up at Round Top looking over the observation deck. I'm always afraid that for some reason I'm going to get confused and fall down the hill onto Ideal Senior Living Center. I don't know why. I mean, it's a bizarre fear. But anyway.
I can relate to that. I don't think I've had that particular thought, but
now you will. Next time.
I have thought about doing the tethered rides. I just haven't had a chance to do it.
Well,
but they have the tethered rides. You go up a little bit. You don't, obviously you don't go up, I don't know, 1,000 feet into the sky. Maybe you go up 100 feet.
Right. Well, I have a video of Roger Neal doing that back in the 80s, and it was fun to watch him on a tethered. They had set up a hot air balloon, and it was tethered over at the Agway store on Broad Avenue, so I got a video of that. It was fun seeing Roger Neal doing his remote broadcast from the tethered hot air balloon. But again, to my point, because, and again, maybe it's just me, even though I have and always have had a fear of heights, the trip I took in a hot air balloon a few years ago was one of the most enjoyable experiences I've had. And
I've heard the same thing from a lot of people.
So, I'm tempted to do it again. I'm not saying I'll do it this weekend. I'm sure all the ride slots are probably. I'm sure
we could arrange to get you in a balloon if you desire to do that. I'm sure we could set that up.
Well, maybe I will. I hadn't thought about it, but I would love to do that because it's been a few years, and I just want to. There was nothing, absolutely nothing. There's no downside. There's nothing negative about it. It was one of the most pleasant, relaxing experiences I've ever had.
That's really interesting.
So maybe I'll try to make arrangements for that to happen this weekend, if the weather cooperates. That's always the tough factor.
That's always the key.
It's 10:22 at News Radio WNBF. We'll continue our conversation with the Broome County Executive Jason Garner in a moment. You're listening to Binghamton Now on WNBF. Speaking with Jason Garner here on this Thursday morning. Let's talk more about Otsonengo Park, not about this weekend's event, but we have discussed efforts to improve safety and security at the park. And sadly, despite the efforts to encourage people to take steps to make their cars less vulnerable to ne'er-do-wells, people who do smash and grabs or other things, unfortunately, some of these things still occur.
Yeah, and in fact, what's happened is they've moved to the northern end of the park. So we had an incident that occurred at the northern end of the park, and this is there's two ways to, I guess, get into Otsonengo Park. One is from the end where people typically go into, the main entrance, and then there's the one that's near the dog park where people can go into, and that was where the last one was. And fortunately, we don't have license plate readers up there, so that's something we're going to have to take a look into. And we've certainly stepped up our patrols in Otsonengo Park with Broome County Security, and the investigation is active and is being run by the sheriff's office. And it really it's just really sad that people would do that kind of stuff. I mean, and so it's my commitment to work with security and the sheriff and our parks department to really make sure that when people go into any of our parks that they don't have to experience any of that kind of stuff. But I think sometimes in today's day and age, people are going to do these types of things. But it's our job to do everything we can to make sure that we have the resources there to prevent that from happening or track down the people who did it.
So what is the status with the main park? I know previously, a few months ago, we talked about the installation initially, I think, of a couple of temporary cameras, but I know you had indicated more was going to be done. Has more been done since the initial installation of the cameras, I believe, happened last spring?
I know we've got some of the cameras in there. I don't know if more cameras have been put in. We definitely wanted to get an eye on the parking areas where people were parking, because that's where these incidents were happening. We have put, I don't know if you've noticed this when you've gone into the park, we have put approximately about 50 light poles in Otsonengo Park that can light up the park anytime we want to. And it was really because we had, we'd have some later night events and just a good safety thing for people to have. The lights are also electrified, so we can, like for example, the Festival of Lights can plug into those lights. So it's something that you might people might not notice because they kind of blend in with everything, but they're all on every 100 or so feet. We've constructed these things at the park. But no, I mean, working with security, working with the sheriff, whatever we can do to increase security and prevent or catch the people who are doing this. I mean, we want to do that because, you go to Otsiningo Park or any of our parks and just a place that's a very serene place to get away or to play and or take a nice walk and go with your dog somewhere. And people should not have to worry about any of that stuff happening. So, we're obviously, working on it. We're concerned about it, doing everything we can to prevent it and catch the people that are doing it.
Have plate readers been installed?
I don't know. I'll have to check into that. I know the order's been put in to do that, but they're not installed at the end where the latest incident occurred. That's
the north end in the town of Shenango.
Yep, where the dog park is.
Do you know if any arrests have been made since over the last several months that there's been an increased concern or at least increased
with these?
With the wave of smash and grabs or other similar incidents that have been going on over the course of, say, the last several months?
No arrests have been made, and I don't really want to give any information about the investigation, but there's been kind of a theory about what's been happening. I don't think that these are necessarily random incidents. Let's put it that way. The investigation is still ongoing, so we're not exactly sure. It can't come to a conclusion until we catch people. But like I said, it's just parks should not. Nobody should have to walk around any part of your community and be concerned about their safety, but that certainly shouldn't be happening at all at Otsiningo Park. So, whether it's the license plate readers, which are really helpful, or cameras that we can put at the park, or just doing patrols, you'll often see security that are on their bike patrols out there patrolling different parts of the park. We're trying to do the best we can to prevent that or to be able to catch people that do decide to do that.
Is there a sense with the investigators that then this could be something of an organized operation that's been targeting Otsiningo Park?
I don't really want to comment on that. I just, the sheriff's running an investigation and, security's working with them, and I don't really want to, comment on something that could potentially compromise, the investigation. But I just want to assure people that we're putting resources into it to keep it a safe park. It's still a very safe park. Unfortunately, we've had a few of these incidents, but overall, it's a really safe park, and all of our parks are really safe. But we have a zero tolerance level, zero tolerance when it comes to these types of things. So
these what we've heard about in recent months seem to be property crimes. Have there been reports of any attacks, assaults, or violence in the county parks, Otsiningo or any other park?
No, not to my knowledge. It's the incidents that we've seen are property. People just trying to break a window or trying to get into a car that's unlocked and grabbing whatever they can in the car. And
one of the things, and you saw some of the news coverage, I imagine, from this past weekend with the mass shooting that happened in a Rochester park. And it always seems to me if we see something like that in a place like a park, as you mentioned, we expect to be able to go to any park, whether it's a county park or any other park, and just relax and get away from life. And you don't think about your car being broken into, and you certainly would never expect, even in Rochester, that shootings would occur in parks. I think, unfortunately, in society today, it just seems that wherever you go, including parks, you have to be vigilant and also, I guess, be prepared for anything. I mean, not just park goers, but also for security people.
Yeah, and I'm not making excuses. I mean, listen, I take full responsibility. I mean, I hate the fact that any of these incidents have happened in these parks, and we're taking steps to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Although, it's like anything, right? Like, especially I would say probably over the last 10 or 15 years, incidents of people breaking into cars, specific to what's happened several of these times at Otsego Park. We've seen that happen in neighborhoods, even really nice neighborhoods, right? When, police have been really pleading with people to make sure that they lock up their cars at night, because a lot of, people, this is kind of a newer type of crime that's occurring where people are taking advantage of people who, unlock their cars. I mean, I grew up in a small town. We never used to lock our houses at night. We certainly didn't lock our cars at night. Just never thought that somebody would do that in a small town 40 years ago. But these days, things have changed, and people, are looking at all avenues to take advantage of people and do things they shouldn't be doing. So it's unfortunately the situation that we have in 2024 these days.
Any new security measures, either that have been taken or that are contemplated at other parks besides Otsego?
No, I mean, it's definitely something, listen, the incidents at Otsego have given us kind of a pause, and in terms of like, okay, what else, because if it happens at Otsego Park, I mean, listen, Otsego is like obviously our most visible park. It's right next to the highway. It's our most used park, so there's no doubt that it's seeing, it's more incidents than any other park, right? We're certainly not seeing like stuff like that at Aquaterra, or other types of parks, but it's certainly like given us pause and say, okay, should we increase more patrols at some other parks? Put in some security features like at Griffin, as we're redoing that whole park and redeveloping that whole park with this big project that we've got going on this year. I mean, there will definitely be cameras and, other types of security protocols that we'll put in, especially with all the different amenities that we have going in there. But, it does give you, it does, the conversation, it begins a new, more of a conversation when we talk to our parks director and our security about like what are other things that we should be doing given the fact that we're seeing more of these incidents.
So at Griffin Park, which is undergoing a multi-million-dollar renovation project, an improvement project right now, cameras, would you anticipate plate readers or even enhanced lighting at that park after this project is done?
There will definitely be cameras there. It will be lit up differently than it's been lit up before. Just because there's so many things that we've got going on over there. We expect that to be a heavily used park, and just like Otsego, those are the types of parks that might be more more liable for people to do things that they shouldn't be doing, like trying to break into cars or something like that. So, should the county be proactive and ultimately be considering either putting
at least some cameras, or minimally at least a plate reader at the entrance to every park or most parks just going forward?
Yeah, and I rely on my security people that know the best and how to, do these things. So yeah, I think, listen, in today's day and age, especially what we've seen, over the past 12 months, that with some of these incidents in Oncenango, it's a concern. I still think that the park's an incredibly safe place to go to, right? Like when I think of places that I could go in the community, I could think of a lot of other places that would be much more, you could find yourself in a lot more trouble, right, at different hours of the night or in different places. I still think it's a really safe place. I just think that, when people go to the park, they don't expect that kind of stuff to happen. And I think sometimes that I guess for, criminals, they might take that as an opportunity. If you want to come and run your dog or walk your dog or take a nice walk or play soccer out there or do whatever, you may not think about just locking your car in a park. And I think that's an important part of the messaging is that, you take every, and this especially in 2024, just like you should at your house when you park your car at night, when you get home from work, you should, lock all those doors up and lock everything up. Don't make it easy for people.
What about as we shift slightly to safety and security concerns at the bus station, which is, of course, a Broome County facility? In April, when we spoke, you talked about the implementation of a zero-tolerance policy. There had been situations where things were getting out of hand in some cases because of people who are homeless and just other situations where people who evidently had no real business being inside the bus station were causing issues. Have any additional measures been taken since we talked about that in the spring?
No additional measures have been taken, but we've certainly stepped our security up really over the past couple of years at that facility. And I would say over the past 3 or 4 months, the situation there has gotten much better. You're still going to see people who are homeless there, but that number has been reduced. We tried to make efforts to get outreach workers there to get them connected to services, and our message was, I guess going back about 6 months, is that this is a place for people to this is a place of business for people, and we have businesses in there, and we have people that need to go places, and if you're going to disrupt that, then you're going to be out. And I think that's been helpful, along with us bringing some different sort of resources in there to connect people to more resources.
Speaking with Broome County Executive Jason Garner on this Thursday morning. More to come on Binghamton Now on WNBF. Binghamton Now continues on a Thursday morning. I'm Bob Joseph. We're talking with the County Executive Jason Garner. So there is a staffing shortage at the public library, and I know from our past conversations over the last several months, the library isn't the only county-run operation that's dealing with staffing issues, but it has had an impact on the library hours. Library hours have been curtailed on Tuesday and Wednesday evenings. Tell us about specifically the situation involving the Broome County Public Library on Court Street.
So maybe it would be better to talk about the overall staffing shortage. I know we've talked about this. The county actually meet with our personnel department once a month, and the first thing we talk about is where are all the shortages, and where are we. I think I remember talking to you about this time last year, Bob, and I think we probably had about 400 vacancies. I think that number seems correct when we talked about this last year. Across county government, we've got about 2,000 between full and part-time positions that are available out there. We've done a little bit better with staffing. Certainly, upgraded a lot of different salaries and things like that. The state's given us more flexibility in hiring people and not having to give them a civil service exam, which has been a really big detriment to hiring people. I think we're down to about 250 vacancies now, which is a lot better than 400. It's not zero. But we definitely have certain departments that are tough to hire in. Willow Point is one of those departments. The Department of Social Services is another department. But we made a lot of upgrades at both of those facilities, so we're hopeful that starts to pay off for this. Library is another example that they have to have people that are working in the library to maintain all the different hours, and our county librarian is pretty amazing. Josiah is really wonderful, and we work really well with him and the library board of trustees, and they're down a few staff, and that means they have to cut hours, and these are people that you have to you just can't come off the street and work at the library. There's a lot of requirements for you to manage a library and do those types of things. So it's just like anything. It's difficult, and those are some of the challenges that we've had. But we'll. I just met with him. We're in the middle of our budget process, and he's got some upgrades he's looking to make, and we'll see what we can do to help him out in terms of figuring out where all the resources that we have. But it's certainly something that we've talked to him about, and it's something that hopefully we can address in the budget to help him out. But I mean, that's the reality. I mean, there's only a certain amount of people in Broome County that are willing and able to work, and there's only a certain amount of people that fit the requirements to work in the library specifically, and those are some of the challenges that we've had. Ultimately, we'd like to get those people hired so they don't have to cut any hours at nighttime, and that's the goal.
It's 10:47 at WNBF and WNBF.com. As we've reported, Avelo Airlines will end its service between Binghamton and Orlando August 18th, so that's coming up in just over 2 weeks. There is a question that a listener has raised. She has a credit with Avelo, and the credit was scheduled to be good through June 18th. And apparently she contacted Avelo, asked them to refund the amount of the credit to her credit card because, obviously, after August 18th, they have said they're not going to be flying between Binghamton and Orlando. And then, interestingly, she received a response from the airline suggesting this, that they are planning to resume BGM to MCO service. That's Binghamton to Orlando will return in September 2025. Is that true?
That would be news to me. So that's not any information that I know about, and typically we would know about something like that. It's the first I've heard about it.
She received a note dated July 30th at, around midday, and a person from Avelo, and she forwarded it to me. It's from the VeloAir.com support. And hello, BGM to MCO will return spring 2025. And then there's a phone number to call if you have any questions. I haven't called that number yet, but I will. So you haven't heard about the possibility of it returning?
I haven't. We're in conversations with them and other airlines about bringing new service here. And, the last conversation we had with them was that, while we were certainly disappointed they discontinued service, they will in August, that, we're still open to, other routes and those types of things. So but that's the first thing I've heard about it. I would actually, I don't know how much we could do, but I'd encourage your caller to contact my office and see if there's something that that we could do. If she's trying to get her credit back, there may be something that we could do to help her do that.
Have you heard from any other Avello customers that they have experienced something like this, where they were seeking a refund for credits that they obviously can't use flying out of Binghamton going forward after August 18th?
I have not heard of anybody that's called our office about that. This is the first I've heard about any of that kind of stuff, and that's why I would encourage her to call our office. We could probably get some people in our airport who have good relationship with Avello, see if they could help the person out.
And so that would apply to anyone who might be in a similar situation.
Absolutely.
You touched on Griffin Park in West Endicott not too long ago. Of course, as I frequently do before our monthly conversations, I stop by, and a lot of work is underway this week. They're putting the roof on.
They are. It's pretty amazing to see that, and I just was talking to our parks director, and we think that whole building should be completed by the middle, maybe end of September. It's kind of like once that building gets completed, and that's when all the amenities can start to come in inside and outside the building. We're already doing some prep work outside, and for the outside amenities, we're doing like the grading for the fields and things like that. But all the HVAC is completed. The bathrooms are in progress. The doors and the glass are all installed. I think the concessions are probably that area that the concession area is probably about 60% finished. And so once the main building is done, and we think it's going to be done late September, then we can start to work on putting in the pickleball courts and the track and the skating rink as well.
Another big county project is on Binghamton's north side. I also checked out the work at the Veterans Resource Center, also the site where
picture of that.
Did you see that?
That was. I've seen some pictures about 2 weeks ago, but I think you have the most recent one, and that's really phenomenal to see how it's really interesting to see how these new buildings go, where sometimes they just look like nothing. There's a lot of people working around. You can kind of see some structure, and then like a week later, you're like, oh, that's like now it actually looks like a building. It looks like what our renderings look like.
Yeah, they're working
really amazing.
Working on the roof, and before long it'll be sealed up so they can start doing electrical and plumbing work inside before the weather starts getting cold. One thing that I am curious about, and I understand from my conversation with the foreman over there, that all of the plans for the tiny homes apparently haven't been totally finalized. Maybe this is at the state level. Where do things stand with the residential component? Because that's certainly an important factor. This will be new to Broome County, new to this area, with the 10 tiny homes that'll be there for veterans.
I should get our Scott Maston from our engineering department is really taking the lead on this from the county. I should get him on your program, and he can talk to you all about how the construction is going to go and all the timelines and when the main building is going to get done and when they're going to put the tiny homes in. But everything is slated to be open by July of next year, by July of 2025. And that includes the tiny homes. We actually have a request for proposal that is right out on the that we put out for housing providers to manage the tiny homes and provide some support and services. And we're hopeful that we get a good amount of responses, and before the end of the year or early next year we could pick a housing provider. But we expect everything to be up and running by July.
Well, check with Mr. Maston with his schedule. I'd love to have him on maybe sometime next week because it's a huge project.
He does an interview. He's on vacation right now. We got to give him a vacation once in a while. But I think he's supposed to come back next week, and I don't think he's ever been on a radio before on the radio program. These engineers typically don't get out on that type of stuff. But I think he's just a wealth of information, and he's been involved in the project since the first day that we've been doing it. So he would be great to kind of talk about all the things that are going to be happening in the building and the housing and all that kind of stuff.
Well, we'll look forward to that. Is there a November event scheduled there at the new Veterans Resource Center?
A November event? Not that I know of.
All right. Well, keep your calendar open.
No, it's. I think we're pretty much focused. I've got to give my budget address in early September. So our focus is to get a budget over to the legislature in the next 5 or 6 weeks, and then work with the legislature till November to get our budget done. That's we got a lot of stuff we do all the time, but I mean that's kind of like what's taking up a lot of my focus over the next few months.
So I understand that the county's director of emergency services has resigned. What happened?
He just offered his resignation on Monday, and Neil Haight, who's the deputy director, is going to be the acting director of emergency services, and we're probably have the position online either today or tomorrow, and we'll be working to get a really qualified applicant to run our Office of Emergency Services, because I think, as people know, Broome County is no stranger to a lot of snowstorms and flooding and things like that. But Neil's a really capable guy, and we got a really good department there. So they'll be in good hands until we find a permanent director.
Was the director's resignation requested?
No.
All right. And I understand, I've been told he has a new position already, I believe, at Binghamton University.
I don't know anything about that, but that's where we are. So we're, like I said, we're really confident in Neil Haight, who's been the deputy for many, many years. And as you know, my former deputy, Mike Panicello, is our deputy county executive. So he's very involved in making sure the department has all the support it needs until we can get a full-time director in there. But that's our goal, to get one, really good person in there as soon as possible.
So the department will be able to operate efficiently in the event of flooding or smoke coming in from wildfires or whatever else earthquakes, whatever else might occur over the next several months.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got a really good senior staff there. I think our senior division leaders have over 100 years of experience. They're all there. A really, 911 dispatch is running really well. So, between all those different divisions, I'm absolutely confident that, whatever emergency we have, we'll be able to respond just the way we've always been able to respond.
Broome County Executive Jason Garner, thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome. Hope to see you at Speedy Fest, Bob.
Okay, maybe wave. If you see me in the balloon, I'll wave at you. I'll be taking pictures. 10:58 WNBF. We'll be taking more calls coming up in just a few minutes. So if you have anything that you'd like to talk about, it could be local or it could be, politics, national politics. If you want, go right ahead. You're allowed to here at WNBF, so we'll open up the phone lines in just a few minutes. Joining us now in the studio is Jacob Kampan from Claw Industries. Jacob, welcome back to Binghamton Now.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So how are things going? You were here right at the outset when Claw Industries was just getting organized and just getting off the ground.
Yeah, we had come in just when we were starting, so it's really cool to be back, a couple of years later, and a lot's changed since then.
For our listeners who don't know, give us just an overview, the story of Claw Industries, how you and a few other young people got together, came up with an idea, and now are working to come up with a business that is serving people with some creative ideas.
Yeah, so my cousin and I started Claw when we were in college. What we do is we take glass that can't be recycled and we turn it into a raw material for concrete. We sell that right to concrete plants locally here. That's Barney and Dickinson, and then they use it in concrete projects all around town. Our big projects in this area is the City of Binghamton Curb and Sidewalk and the Whitney Point project that the New York State Department of Transportation is doing.
Tell me about just some of the logistics of starting a business. I've never started a business. I have ideas, but I don't have access to the money to make those ideas a reality. The other thing is I wouldn't even know where to begin. Even if I had a big pile of money, if money was no object, I wouldn't even know where to go to start a business. Tell me a little bit about how Claw got started, certainly with help from the Kauffman Southern Tier Incubator.
Yeah, I mean, we were in the same boat. You know, we were in school, didn't have any money, connections to either industry, but, you know, we had an idea, and the Kauffman Incubator was really where we got our foothold. And, you know, after that, we just started talking to people in both those industries. And Barney Dickinson was really our first big partner that kind of helped us along and really, you know, showed us the ropes of the concrete world and really gave us a shot. So really, that's kind of how we got going is, you know, getting to know people in those industries.
So I know you mentioned the Whitney Point project, and the DOT had a big announcement about that several weeks ago. So how's that going?
Yeah, so far that project's going great. You know, they've been using our material and we've been able to keep up with them. So we're super excited about that. That's our first state project. So that was a really big step for the company, something that's been in the works for a long time. So, you know, to see it go from an idea to actually something being used by the state, you know, especially here locally, you know, right down the street from where I grew up in Shenango Forks was really, really neat.
And now you have another announcement involving a project that is happening in the city of Syracuse.
Yeah, so this past Monday, we had our first sidewalks go out in the city of Syracuse, and that's with Rosselli Northerns, the concrete company up there. And that was our first major infrastructure project, not here in Broome County. So the first time we actually sent material outside into other areas of New York for those type of bigger projects. So that was a really big step for us as well, and something that we're really excited about.
So what's next? Obviously, you've got these projects going on, say, project over the next 1 to 3 years of what you'd like to see happen or where you'd like to see Claw and industries be, say, in the next few years.
Yeah, so today we're a team of 6. We have a facility over on Griswold Street on the east side of Binghamton that we've been in since 2021. And really the next step over the next 1 to 3 years is expanding our operations in the city. That way we can continue to ship material out to other areas of the state. You know, we really want to locate ourselves here and then send the material out to other areas like Syracuse. That's why we're trying to grow those markets and really get the material into those other areas. So,
is there any hope to do business outside New York State?
Yeah, New York State is really what we view as the first stepping stone to going further beyond into the Northeast. You know, we're right on the border of PA, as well as a lot of other states kind of are following suit with, you know, the actions that New York State DOT is taking in terms of their concrete infrastructure. So that's something we're really gearing up for.
So since you announced the formation of the company, has everybody been encouraging, or did you encounter some naysayers along the way?
Yeah, I mean, you know, being in college, that was something we worried about, being so young, entering, you know, what's typically thought of as very conservative industries. And there will always be naysayers, but I would say by and large, everybody that we've worked with on both sides has been super supportive. And it's one of the reasons that Claw Industries exists today, is people were willing to take a chance on young people trying to do something. And that's really made a huge difference for us.
Jacob Compound, Chief Operating Officer of Claw Industries in Binghamton. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
It's 11:15, WNBF, live and local. This is Binghamton Now. I'm Bob Joseph, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming at WNBF.com. We go back to the phones. Gary from Binghamton South Side, you're on the air.
Morning, Bob. I was watching some of the Trump events yesterday, which were, I don't know, sad, I think, but The good news is that he insulted a lot of people at the National Association of Black Broadcasters yesterday. And the good news is that an hour afterwards, Act Blue reeled in $23 million for Kamala. I guess it really motivated people. It said it was the biggest fundraising event since she announced. And I thought that was a good thing, $23 million, because he opened up his mouth and insulted people. That works pretty good for us. But I also found out that he basically said to the woman, the fire chief that got murdered there at his rally received $1 million, the wife. And he was mentioning it in this speech down in Harrisburg that she got $1 million check. And the wife responded by saying, well, I'd rather have my husband back. And he just told the audience that, he goes, I know a lot of women that wouldn't say that. And they laughed about it. He made a joke about it. The fact that he knew a lot of women that would rather have the $1 million than their husband back.
Oh, I can't believe he would say something like that.
Oh yeah, it's public now.
Do they have a tape?
Yeah, he did it yesterday at Harrisburg down there at the rally.
All right.
Yeah, it's a fact. I just read it here.
Sounds kind of, I don't know, sort of unfeeling.
Yeah.
Inappropriate. I mean, it'd be bad enough if he said that in a locker room, which he probably would. Who knows what his locker room talk. Well, actually, we know what his locker room talk sounds like, thanks to the Billy Bush bus. But still, I mean, there's a time and place, I guess, for bizarre humor, and I wouldn't think at a rally in Harrisburg so soon after the tragedy that happened elsewhere in Pennsylvania. I wouldn't think that would be the appropriate time.
Well, the unfortunate part of it is that the audience laughed with him. He made a joke out of it, and they all chuckled from it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe that says something about the people aboard the Trump train.
Well,
I can't. The problem here, Gary, is I can't psychoanalyze people why anyone would think something like that's funny.
Well, there's been a lot of psychoanalysts that have been working on. There's a couple of channels on, again, YouTube. The two gentlemen I talked about, the one psychologist from Cornell there, stuff. They started their own deal. It's called Shrinking Trump, and they pretty much documented that he's a psychotic something or other, but I don't have the words in front of me here right now. But he is mentally challenged. He seems to have no regard for his nephew's son. He wrote a book about it. The All in the Family. It's all about the Trump family, and this man is not fit to be in the White House. He's absolutely not. And I hope that that some of your MAGA people that get used to calling Kamala President Harris.
Well, it's probably at this rate. I did see somebody on Twitter who opined that he thinks Trump is going to actually drop out.
Well, he's doing it. He's headed that way. I think. I mean, voters are
what then?
Drop out.
I mean, that puts if people think the Democratic Party is in a predicament because of the condensed version of a campaign, because Joe Biden's decision came so recently, and so Kamala Harris is in a position of trying to basically set up a 100-day dash to the presidency. Imagine the situation the GOP, the Republicans, will find themselves in if Trump does, as this one guy predicted, drop out of the race. I mean, what then? So does that mean automatically then J.D. Vance goes up to the top spot on the ticket? And then who is going to be the vice presidential choice?
Well, according to Fred Trump, his cousin, that he hates to lose. He won't drop out of the race. His ego is too big. But
what if he finds out from reliable sources that he's going to lose? I mean, look, he lost big the last time. I hate to keep bringing it up, but the results were certified, and the courts agreed that he lost big time, bigly, I would go so far to say. He lost very bigly in November 2020, and if things continue this way, he could lose even more bigly this year. And since he doesn't like being a loser, what if he opted out and said, I just feel sick?
Well, I think he's going to lose the popular vote again, but he's going to rely on the Electoral College to keep him in place, and that's a scary part.
Do you think if the results are on the verge of being certified by Congress next January, do you think he'll encourage another insurrection type event?
Well, he's not going to be. He's not going to have, he's not going to have the podium to do that again,
No, but he still has his social media platform that some people subscribe to. So what I'm saying is, and he still could go on Fox, so he's still, even though he doesn't have the power of the presidency as he did in January 2021, he still could encourage his supporters to go to D.C. because it'll be wilder.
Well, we'll take it as it comes.
Okay. Well, here's my question. If you were in charge of law enforcement in the District of Columbia and at the Capitol, would you at least now that it's August, would you at least be making preparations for possible problems next January?
Well, I think the last time there was a lot of organizing going on. I mean, you had Jenny Thomas, Clarence Thomas's wife, and you had some supermarket heirs down there in Florida, Kroger's. They organized these bus trips that brought all those people to Washington. Now, that was very well organized. I don't think that's going to happen again. I could be wrong, but
what is the one person I haven't heard from lately, Mr. Pillow? Where does he stand with all this?
He's looking for a job in the White House. That's what last time I know.
All right.
They're all kind
now,
of.
Mr. Pillow hasn't expanded his product line now to include couches or anything like that.
Well, I gotta tell you, Trump is. I would never thought that Trump would become one of the largest fundraisers for Kamala Harris. 23 million, and in a couple hours. I mean, it happened right after his speech there.
The weird thing is, and I haven't seen his campaign's numbers, I bet his campaign also raised a similar amount of money, even more, because I wouldn't be surprised. See, I would say, just based on decades of observation of Donald Trump, I would say, and I hope people don't take this the wrong way, it's meant to be complimentary. He's crazy like a fox. He doesn't do anything, like even his responses at the convention or the meeting in Chicago yesterday. He doesn't do anything spontaneously. All that was carefully planned to get attention, to maximize the attention, and to appeal to his base. So who's to say that his campaign didn't rake in even more money than the Harris campaign?
Well,
after that, shall we say, memorable performance.
Well, I've always said this, that the billionaires, the transfer of wealth has gotten, and I think CBS reported that 90% of the country is now owned by the top 1%. I've always said that these people now basically own the country. And they're saying to themselves, hey, we own this country. We don't need no stinking democracy. And Trump is our go boy. And we got 2025. Here's the written word on it. They're going to basically, he gets his money from the deep pockets. He gets it from the billionaires. Okay, that's his class. That's why he wants to give them. Why would you give a billionaire a tax break? But these billionaires are going to pump a bunch of money into his campaign, so he can basically overturn democracy. They don't. The billionaires own this country, and it's like, hey, we don't need no stinking democracy. We own this country, and we're going to run it the way we see fit. And that's where 2025 came in.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. You have to admit it's going to be an interesting, 6 months at least. 6 to 12 months. You think July was interesting. Buckle up. Buckle up. Between now, I'd say, well, let's just be blunt. Between now and July 31st, the next 12 months are likely to shock you. That's all I can say. I don't know why. It's just a feeling I have. As they say, stay tuned. Binghamton Now, WNBF. Yes, make that call. And talk to the people of America. Dave from Vestal, you're on the air. Oh, dear. All right. Joe from Owego, you're on the air.
Thank you very much. The magic words have been spoken. Tax credits. I would like to know from our governmental officials how much of the resources of the public have been spent on tax credits, especially now when, if you look at the incentives that go with the solar farms, in theory, an acre of solar farm could cost more than $500,000. The state incentive is 30%. The federal government incentive is 22%. Now, is that granted as tax credits presently, or to what degree? I don't know. Some people out there understand these incentives. My point is, if you're giving away tax credits, what are we to do, those of us who are paying the taxes, to allow this to happen? I'd like someone who knows to give us an accurate perspective of this.
What about tax credits for corn growers? They get lucrative credits if they cover their crops and avoid tilling the soil. And what about tax credits for oil companies and gasoline producers?
I would like to know the degree to what that is. I don't know. Are they okay? To what degree? 30%?
I think every industry gets tax credits. Every industry, well, not every, virtually every industry gets some tax breaks of some type. And every time people hear anything about a tax credit for a business, you need to know that means it's raising your tax bill.
That's my point.
Right. And that's what's wrong with this country. Tax credits, I mean, rampant tax credits for virtually everybody except you and me. That's why we're on the fast track to the poorhouse.
Can we get those people who we elect to govern and to manage our businesses to come forward and tell us to what degree this affects us? That's my point. Yeah,
and the answer is no, they won't.
Why?
Because they don't want to. They'd be embarrassed if state and federal officials, even local officials, revealed the true extent of tax credits for businesses. It'd be embarrassing. They're not going to do it.
Then they could be replaced and their retirement could be withdrawn.
Well, then replace them. But they're not going to do it voluntarily. They get too much money from these companies, from the people who work for or the people who control these companies. They get too much campaign cash and maybe in some cases illegal cash. So there's no incentive for them to reveal how much the tax credits really are.
Do you really think that a member of the school board would be intimidated by revealing the tax credits that have an effect on the revenue that we spend for education?
Yes.
I don't believe it.
I believe it. Yes.
So?
You asked me a question, and the simple answer is yes.
I find that difficult to accept, but maybe you're right.
All right. Well, you let me know if the president of the Owego Appalachian Board of Education reveals that information. You'll be my Tioga County correspondent or any other school district in Tioga County, they're not going to reveal the information.
I think it would be interesting to hear if any of them feel that it's appropriate.
Okay, well, I'm going to invite all presidents of boards of education or even school board members in Broome and Tioga counties plan to call in tomorrow with the information that Joe is asking for.
Why don't we also include Lepardo, Friend, Hoco, those people who are elected to manage our affairs to come forward?
Tomorrow, all of them, school officials, local, state, and federal officials, tomorrow. They should all call in to 607-772-1290 with the specific information regarding tax credits.
Or at least an acknowledgement that it's available and they will accumulate it and share it with we, the public.
All
Thanks,
right.
Bob.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's program. I'll bring in some popcorn because it's going to be instructive when they all call in at once. Better call the phone company to let them know we're going to need some extra lines. It's 11:38 at WNBF. Bev from the town of Dickinson, you're on the air.
Hi, folks. I got some good news. I walked from the physical therapy room to the elevator, got on the elevator, got down to the first floor, and walked to the car.
All right, that is good news. That is very good news.
Yep, and I'm happy. And when I come home, my son-in-law walked me up the steps.
All right. Well, here's the thing. Since you're a proud member of the WNBF family, your good news makes each of us happy.
Well, I hope so, Bob.
All right. All right. Hey, thanks for checking in. Thanks for the update. Hope you have a good afternoon.
You too.
All right, there you go. 11:39 at WNBF. Your home for good news.
This is a special report from ABC News. Americans freed from Russia. I'm Sherry Preston. 2 Americans coming home from Russian detention. Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich and former Marine Paul Whelan exchanged as part of a Russian prisoner swap. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze has more from the White House.
President Biden has said he has been fighting every day to try to bring these Americans who've been wrongfully detained in Russia home. So what we know right now, we are told that they have agreed to a prisoner swap that includes the release of Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan. And those are, of course, 2 of the most.
All right, the flash apparently official until the sunspots drowned out the end of the report. But again, the bottom line is the prisoner swap. So Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan are now on their way home. So the prisoner swap is official. And, of course, I think it's safe to say all Americans are rejoicing with this good news on this Thursday morning. It's 11:40 at WNBF. Adam from Appalachian, you're on the air.
Good morning, Bob.
Morning.
I'd like to throw a curveball out there and say we need to increase what we pay our politicians so they don't have to lie, cheat, and steal. Triple, maybe 5 times their salary now.
And you think they would stop the criminal conduct if they got paid more?
I do.
All right. I don't, but, we could experiment with it. We could start, I'd say here in Broome County, starting January 1st, they should triple the pay for all elected officials, triple the pay for the mayors, for the members of city council or the town and village boards, triple the pay for county executive, triple the pay for members of the county legislature, triple the pay for all top-level government employees in Broome County, and do it for the next 5 years, and we'll see if that ensures a better quality of government.
I think you'd get better qualified people to run.
Well, would you run?
No.
I'm telling you, same with a lot of our listeners who might actually be qualified to be elected officials, government representatives, a lot of our listeners probably wouldn't run regardless of the pay.
You know, we pay baseball players who sit on the bench a lot more than the president. And it just blows my mind that we could do that.
True. Well, you've made an interesting proposal, and we'll see what the other viewers have to say.
I'm sure the politicians will say yes.
Well, of course. Of course they will, and as they should. Here's the thing, Adam. If some elected official or candidate called in and renounced your idea of tripling the pay, would you vote for that person?
If they renounced it, no.
No, I wouldn't either. Because there's something wrong, because we know that the only thing that motivates people is cash. Money is the source of all that's good in a world. And so if somebody calls in and tries to say, without cracking up, without laughing, if elected, I will not take triple the current salary. I will turn over any additional money that is in my paycheck, I will turn it back into the general fund. You wouldn't believe that for a minute. Or if it's true, then I'd have to say, then maybe you don't belong in government. Maybe you don't belong running anything. Thanks for the call. 1144 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Bob. This is DJ from Binghamton. Hey, I've got the best news ever. America has won the gold. Jade Carey and the gymnast took gold, and Katie Ledecky took the gold. We're waiting for Emily McKay to see what she does from Binghamton University. That's gold, Jerry, gold. We got the gold, baby.
All right. And so should we have a parade?
Yes.
Why don't we have a parade down Court Street?
When Emily McKay gets back, we'll have her, the Binghamton University graduate, and me and you will get a...
No, we'll do it better. Why have a parade when she can just be on the program? When she gets back to Broome County, we'll just have her on the program.
Well, get a hold of Harvey Stinger, is that his name, from Binghamton University, and have her, he'll arrange it for you. But I will definitely be in the parade preaching the gospel in a flatbed truck with Emily McKay right next to me, and hopefully Jade Carey, the greatest gymnast ever, and Emily McKay.
Well, she's been in this studio before, so there you go. So she knows the high caliber of the questions from the host. She enjoyed the time she was here a few months ago. So my guess is she'll want to come. Probably the first, after she's done with the Olympics, probably the first call she'll make to someone besides her family will be the call to Binghamton Now to see when she can come into the studio.
Well, cut up the gold glitter because we're going to have a good time, and I'm just so happy. And really, seriously, I'm so happy that America swept the way we've swept. We've been kicking booty and taking names at the Olympics, and I'm very happy. America, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, Psalm 33, verse 13. That's it. I say that all the time.
Well, I'm going to call Colleen Wegman to ask if she can get a cake ready for when Emily is in the studio. Maybe it could have like some kind of a gold medal or something on top of the cake. I'll have to think about what I want written. Maybe congratulations, Emily. It's 11:46 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. I only wanted to say there's another scam going on. Somebody called me yesterday, gargled, says, Mom, this is your son. I had an accident. I said, I don't even know who you are, so I hung up. Bye.
All right. Yeah, watch out for that scam. Because it works. You would think that a scam like that would never work. Unfortunately, it's been around for quite a few years. And the reason why it continues is because it works. Now, it won't work with everyone. In fact, probably doesn't work with the majority of people who get a call like that. But say if you're a scammer, you got all the time in the world. So you say, well, I'll start dialing this sequence of numbers. And obviously, I know not everyone is going to fall for my lie about their son or granddaughter or somebody in trouble and needing money. But if you make enough calls, you're going to find someone who will go along with it. But don't you be the one. And scammers will always be with us. Scammers always have been with us. There are people who think that they have a right to steal from others. It's always gone on. It will always go on, no matter how many warnings that we issue. So it's important. I appreciate our listeners when they share another warning about a scam. Here's a good rule of thumb. If somebody calls you on the phone and you don't know her, it's a scam. Another rule of thumb, though, is even if she calls you on the phone and you know her and she asks for money, it still might be a scam. Because now with AI, they can fake voices too. Oh, Kamala, I know you need money. You need a lot of money between now and November. It turns out it's not Kamala after all. Or, for those of you on the other side of the dial, oh, Donald, I know you need money. You need lots and lots and lots of my money between now and November. Don't fall for it. If somebody calls purporting to be a candidate or even someone you know, if somebody calls you and is asking for money, don't fall for it. Don't give people money over the phone. If you're going to give people money, give it to them, hand it over to them in person, or else you might be scammed. It's 11:49 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Bob the Beetle from Boston.
Good morning, Bob.
What did John Lennon say? Give me money.
That's true.
Hey, if some scammer calls me, I'll threaten to smash him in the face. How's that?
You wouldn't stoop that low. Come
You know
on.
that?
Oh, come on.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Wait a second. I can't let that go. You say something like that. Who talks like that anyway?
I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
I grew up with bikers, Bob. Me and you have a whole different look on life. I grew up with people that if you mess with a girlfriend, they beat the you-know-what out of you.
Yeah, I know a guy who's no longer with us who, I won't go into specific detail, but he made a big mistake. He messed around with bikers. You know how they say, fool around and find out? He fooled around and he found out big time.
Well, that's who I grew up with, people like that. So I don't know. Most of the people that call in here, I don't think they understand where I'm coming from. But anyway, this guy was talking to you about billionaires giving money to Trump. Have you ever heard of Mark Zuckerberg, George Soros, Bill Gates? They give money to the other side, but you people never seem to acknowledge that. I am so tired of that one-sided argument on here. I haven't been listening because I go crazy and, I'm driving home and I turn the radio on. That's what I have to hear. It's crazy, man. We need both sides told there.
This station offers the best of everything. When you think about it, when it comes to talk show, WNBF offers a wide array of opinions.
Yeah, but most of them are liberal, and you agree way too much with that. You never challenge those people either, I noticed. You challenge everything like Dave from Vestal as soon as he makes a point. Oh, what about Donald Trump? Donald Trump did this 60 years ago. Well, that's if you want to talk about Camel, you know what I call her. let the man talk about her and don't start, well, what about Trump? That's what aboutism, which I've heard you condemned 5-10 years ago. So, I don't know. I just get frustrated. I love to listen to the radio when I'm driving around and stuff, but I have to turn it off because it's always like Matt Ryan and their views, and I don't agree with those people at all. And politicians paying them more, I think they should be paid like a $30,000 a year or something.
Oh, that's outrageous.
For what do they do? I mean,
they make the tough decisions.
Yeah. When I worked, I busted my you-know-what for like under $30,000. And these people sit around, everything's paid for. They make laws you have to go by, but they don't. No, I'm tired of that. These politicians are way out of control, and people treat them like they're rock stars or something. If I met a politician, I'd go, pfft. Oh, one time at a clam bake, Juanita Crab and Tim Griffin were there, and those guys were like, big deal. Who are they, right?
What? They're as good as anybody, or were. I mean, sadly, Tim Griffin is no longer with us, but they're great people.
They think they're better. That's the trouble.
No, they don't. No. The county executives and mayors and town supervisors I've met over the years, they don't think they're better than us.
I think they do. The ego just to run for it in the first place.
Well, that part is true. But the reality is you got to have an ego if you're going to be in public.
Or a talk show.
I was going to say that. I was waiting for you because I was going to say if you're going to be a candidate or be on the radio, especially in this kind of position. I mean, if I was just playing tunes and not interacting with the audience all the time, I wouldn't have to have such a big ego and a thick skin. But in this public-facing position where I'm taking calls, dozens of calls every week, and not everybody is a fan, Not everybody is a member of the Big Bob fan club.
Oh, guarantee.
Yeah. So, of course, I'll be the first to admit that to be on radio or TV, to an extent, you've got to have an ego that's bigger than average.
Yeah, but isn't the goal to have people like you? You seem to go the other way.
What? People like me.
You alienate people. You gotta know that.
People like me.
Bob, I've met several people who go, "You're Bob from Best Light, know by your voice," and they always go, "Oh my God, that guy! I can't believe him," because your views are so left. I don't know. I'm a Republican. I'm proud of it. If I was a Democrat, I would. I hate when people like Hannity will go, "My liberal friends say," I don't have any liberal friends. I refuse to have liberal friends because their views are communist. All right.
All right.
Somebody else.
Hey, thanks.
Bye.
11:55. That's the story from Vestal making contemporary news. 11:55. I know people are curious about the weather. For one thing, a heat advisory is now in effect. This is not a test. This is not a drill. And this is hardly a joke. This is serious. Baby. Ooh, baby, it's hot outside. The heat advisory is in effect now until 8 o'clock. For the next 8 hours, 4 minutes and 18 seconds, the heat advisory is in effect for the Binghamton area. The heat index will pop up to 99. Hot temperatures, high humidity may cause heat-related illnesses. So be careful. Drink plenty of beer. I misread that. Drink plenty of fluid. Stay in an air-conditioned room. Stay out of the sun and check up on relatives and neighbors. All right? All right. Be careful out there. Here's the official forecast from the National Weather Service. Sunny today, high 91. Heat index could rise to 99. Partly cloudy tonight, low 67. Partly sunny tomorrow with a chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon, the high 91. The outlook for the weekend. Saturday, partly sunny with showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon, high 86. And Sunday, Partly sunny with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a high 85. Right now, it's 83 in downtown Binghamton. It's 28 Celsius. At News Radio WNBF. Hey, it's been a great morning. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to those who've called. I'm Bob Joseph. I'll be back tomorrow morning with the Friday edition of Binghamton Now here on WNBF.